Good evening, family. Shann, alcoholic addict. My sobriety date is August 9th, 2022. For what I'm grateful. Um, I have a sponsor who has a sponsor and a working knowledge of the 12 steps. I have a few commitments. Um, the Thursday morning meeting or the attitude adjustment over at the Alumni Club. Um, and also another meeting that I attend, the Great Reality Group on 9th Street at 7 o'clock. Um, a little bit about myself. Um, um, as a kid, I grew up a younger brother to an older brother who used to always pick on me. I was a chunky kid, mama's boy. Um, and I think even at an early age, I was a full blown addict. I was like really into video games, toys, or whatever. Anything that just brought me any kind of pleasure, I was like all for it. And so as I got into like middle school, and having coming from a broken home, my parents got divorced when I was like in middle school, and like I said, me being a mama's boy, you know, uh, when my mom left, um, my brother, you know, who I'll get into that later, but my brother used to always like pick on me, and so I never wanted to be at home. And my father was always working. The thing about my father was like a hard worker. He was a Navy guy, and he put food on the table, put clothes on our back, and he provided. You know what I'm saying? And he gave us an opportunity to like to for a better life here in the States. I'm an American citizen. But I'm a Filipino American. And so early on, like I said, I was uncomfortable at home. And, I think I took my first drink when I was like 12 years old. I think I was in eighth grade. And I remember like, finding some relief in that, and always wanting more of it. I always kept like, decent grades. So, on the surface, everything seemed fine, you know. But like I would be away from home and I'd get into trouble. I would like, I wouldn't get arrested or nothing like that. Um, but you know, hanging out with my friends and staying the night at their houses without no supervision, it can get into a lot of trouble. Um, and so I think I moved from Reno Valley to uh, to Anaheim, and I remember my freshman year, I couldn't get alcohol like that easily. So I remember the first time that I smoked weed. And I remember this so vividly because it was the same night that Buster Douglas beat Mike Tyson. And I remember like walking home just bugging out like on the fact that like that Douglas beat Tyson, because Tyson was invincible. You know what I mean? And not having any idea that I had like, crossed that line and opened up that gateway. And as I got a little older, I think I moved from Reno, from Anaheim. I moved to Poway. I moved to this like little North County town in San Diego, and my brother was about 4.5 years older than me. And so when I was 16, on my brother's military ID, he was 21. And I know you guys have seen that movie Superbad, right? And there was a character named McLovin, right? I was Fogel before he was. So I was that guy, and like David was talking about earlier, just like I just wanted to fit in. You know what I mean? I was like a new kid going to this high school, and me being uncomfortable in my skin and being Filipino, I just wanted to fit in. So I was that guy. Like all the parties I went to. You know what I mean? Like I bought alcohol for the football players, like the stoners, and the homies, and so from my sophomore year to about like till my senior year, my my alcoholism like really progressed, and you know I always associated like drinking and getting high as a means of like celebration, And even when I was, going through some stuff, like, if I failed at something or whatever, um, that was always there for me. And, fast forward a little bit to moving back up to Long Beach. Um, I remember the first time that I ever took a blast from the pipe, you know, and wow, I think I had like, really, really fallen in love for the first time. You know, I remember that day when I first took that first hit. I had just broken up with my girlfriend of like my high school sweetheart for like after 4 years or something, and it was like a way for me to kind of just forget about things. Like, I think that was like the first experience I ever had, like where getting high helped me to forget about like losing somebody that I loved, and I always just associated like like getting high, like I said, with fun. So you know in my 20s, those were like a blur, and I like I look back on that time and like I was using for like over 30 years, you know um and I had this thought earlier about how like for those 30 years nobody ever put a gun to my head to make me like take a drink or take a hit, right? And you would need a gun now to make me want to take a hit or take a drink now today, you know? Because my sobriety date now to me is more important than my actual birthday, you know, because it's been a rebirth. This is like a new version of me in this life that I'm living now. Um, Another quick story about how I got into treatment. Um, I remember I just gotten out the hospital and I was trying to get into safe refuge, and I called a friend and she gave me a number and there was no beds available. And it's funny how like like God lines things up, you know, like and I really do believe that there's no more coincidences. Um, I was uh I was homeless for about a week, just got out the hospital, and I went to go get a cup of coffee with my last $2. And I went to this 7-Eleven on Wardlow, and I thought I saw a friend that I knew, but the last time I seen this dude, man, he was like 4 feet deep in the grave. He looked like he was on his way out. But when I saw him again, about 3 years later, he was healthy. And, I was like really, really surprised to see him. And I had heard that like he had gotten his life together. He went to treatment and got his stuff together. And it's funny how he showed up at this 7-Eleven on Wardlow because this dude got lost. Okay. He got lost and ended up, he was looking for the address 7-Eleven Wardlow. Okay. He gets lost and ends up at the 7-Eleven on Wardlow. And another funny thing about that number is that his sobriety date is 7-Eleven, And so I remember like sitting there, like, thinking I was on some sort of game show. Like, come on now, like there's no way that like, this can just line up so perfectly. I needed a bed, I needed treatment. And he got his treatment over at Pacifica House. Pacifica House is a place in Hawthorne, and he made one phone call, and I've been sober ever since. Side note though. Okay. I was told to share about this because maybe somebody can identify. When I was there at Pacifica House, you know, uh, one of my roommates had snuck in a DMT vape pen, and I remember like I said, like nobody ever like forced me to do anything. Okay, and I took a puff off of this DMT, and I was sitting there tripping on on my bunk, like tripping hard, and I remember him telling me that like you can get away with it, it won't show up. And I remember like, having nightmares about this because, like I said, like I think my original sobriety date was 7/15/2022 on my mom's birthday. That was the day I went into treatment. And so, I took a puff of this DMT pen, and it was like the 8th of August, right? And I remember like how terrified I was, like when because they UA'd me about like 2 days later, and thankfully, nothing showed up, and I was sweating balls, thinking like if I got kicked out, where would I go? I would, I'd be homeless again, and I'd be back at square one. But like I said, like the way that God like works, sometimes it's amazing. That power greater than yourself is like something that like is super it's just amazing. Okay. And to be up here for 30 minutes, wow. Okay, all right. And another thing I wanted to mention was that like, I appreciate you guys being here because I don't think any of you guys are paid to be here, right? But I'm on the clock. What a blessing that is. Okay. Okay. And another thing I wanted to discuss was, like I remember the insanity of riding my bike 15 miles from Long Beach to Anaheim just to go get high. You know, 15 miles. And the worst part about that story is that I had to come back. You know what I mean? So 30 miles, right? 30 miles to go to and from just to go get high. And I remember having this thought that like, you know what, to any length, to go to any length to get high, right? And so now it really is about like going to any length to get my recovery. Um, the most important things in my life today are, God, of course, and my recovery. And I find that when I put those two things first and priority in my life, everything else in my life just seems to get better. I can remember, the first month, second month, third month, like the progression of my sobriety, and where I was, a year ago. You know what I mean? I remember when I first came to Fred Brown. I came here October 6th. My mom had dropped me off, and Nancy, of course, was one of the first people that greeted me with open arms, like she does with everybody. And also, Nancy, I wanted to thank you for asking me to speak. Um, and I also want to just talk about, like, the importance of, the things that they tell you to do. You know, um, Getting a sponsor. Getting honest, and being able to have somebody you can talk to about some of the things that you've gone through. Um, Another thing is the 12 steps. These 12 steps, they're up on the wall for a reason, because I found that like, it introduced me to Shann. It introduced me to my higher power. And ultimately, I really believe that like if you work these 12 steps, man, your life will get better. My life has gotten better, Sometimes, like of course, like anybody else, I like to play the comparison game. I think about my friends that I graduated with over 30 years ago. And they have families, and you know what I mean, like they own houses, and like they're making millions, and I look at where I'm at, right? And sometimes that's a tough pill to swallow, right? But I am like, I have a peace today that I didn't have my whole life, you know, um, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful. Like I don't, in this past year, I think I probably said grateful or been grateful like probably like 20,000 times, And I was also thinking about this serenity prayer that we say at every meeting, right? I probably, recited the serenity prayer like probably like, 5,000 times in this last year, and it helps like center me, You know what I mean? Like, before I even came up here, I said a quick prayer, said the third step prayer, and just asking God to like help me, get through this 30 minutes. Um, but a few other things that I kind of want to discuss. I'd heard this quote like recently, and I thought it was like super profound because like the people that we hang out with, right? Our support system. Um, your circle of friends should build you up, and they should be proud of you. They shouldn't be jealous of you or hate on you. And I really have found that, like, through the fellowship, and even like like my coworkers, and also like people that I've met in the rooms. I have friends today. I have friends that care about me. You know, um, Another thing, um, I only have a few regrets in my life. And one of those regrets was the fact that, like, my pops, my father, who I love dearly, he passed away from COVID like in 2020, and he never got to see his son be sore for this long. You know, I know he's with me in spirit today. Um, I always like, kind of blame my dad for like, like not communicating with us and like, being an affectionate father that like, or a guy that I could go to and talk to. But that's one of my only regrets really, and another one is too, is that like, I wish I had gotten to this sooner. I wish I had gotten to a program sooner. Um, and, like I see a lot of young faces in this room and, sometimes it takes what it takes, right? In order for you to like, really, really like submit to the process of like, recovery. And I'm just hoping that like, one of you guys, is going to learn um, maybe from like others' mistakes, um, what not to do. Um, and hopefully, you won't have to split your head open after you bump it so many damn times. Maybe you can, I had heard this quote before, like if you, one second. Yeah. A smart man learns from his own mistakes. A wise man learns from others' mistakes. Uh, um, and I wanted to talk about like, you know, um, doing the things that are suggested to you. Like my experience here at Fred Brown, like, having to go to primary groups, writing these letters, um, you know, delving deep into yourself, in order to like find out who you are, and to like bring those things to the surface that you've been suppressing for so long. Before, you know, I would always find comfort in drinking and doing drugs. It was my go-to. You know what I mean? But now I don't want to live like that no more, honestly. Um, but time check. 10 minutes. All right. Okay. Another thing too. Let me see. Like, how can I like how can I put this? I remember when I was I never really like went to college. Um, but I did study mathematics. I was like I'm a retired mathematician. Yeah, it's stupid. But I'm a little flustered being up here, but you know what? I do feel the love in this room. I look around this room and see a lot of familiar faces. People that have been a part of my journey, and people that have like helped me along the way. You know, um, the homie right there, Matthew, bro, Liz, Sunshine, Chris, um, Jeffrey, um, Nancy, Stab, Matthew. You know, um, Joy. I appreciate you guys so much. Like my mom. I tell my mom about you guys, and she always like says that she says prayers for you guys. Because you guys are doing God's work. You know, um, this is my favorite meeting to come to because it's like it's a family vibe in here. And I've been to other meetings, but like this one takes the cake for me. I just feel comfortable in this room. You know, um, I thought I was ready to do 30 minutes, but it's all right. Okay, but I just wanted to say thank you for listening. I appreciate you guys being here, and I love y'all. Thank you for letting me share.